Hi, Florida Aviation Network fans, and welcome back. My name is Ron Timmermans. I'm one of the many hosts for the Florida Aviation Network, and I am delighted to have you joining us again for our live broadcast from the 51st Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo at Lakeland Linder Airport. We're broadcasting from the Central Florida Aviation Academy live and in the clear, and we're bringing you interviews with very interesting people. So aviation performers, aviation legends, and the like. And I've got two very interesting people with me today, Mr. Bob Raskey on the far end here and Ms. Emily Judd. And so Bob and Emily, thank you so very much for joining me today. Now, Bob is a veteran of these interviews. He's been interviewed a number of times. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him. Bob is also on the board of directors for the National Aviation Safety Foundation, the parent company, if you will, of the Florida Aviation Network. So Bob, thank you for your service to aviation safety through this organization. And Bob, I understand you're like the godfather of an aviation dynasty. Would that be a way of explaining it?
It's a good way of saying it.
I think so. So let me just kind of explain what that means. So Bob, as the godfather of the aviation dynasty, is a great aviation career, both first starting off with the Guard, and then flying for the U.S. Air Force, flying for airline as a captain, and then all throughout that he's been doing general aviation. So he's been doing all forms of aviation, military, civilian, and commercial aviation. And Bob is married to Miss Karen Knoll, who I've also known and interviewed in the past, and Karen also is a general aviation and a commercial airline pilot, and they often would fly on overseas flights together. That's until correct, yeah. Bob retired last year. And they have a couple of daughters, and one of them is here, Emily. And Emily is an aspiring pilot as well, and one other daughter is Savannah, who maybe you've seen her in one of these interviews before. So Aviation Dynasty, I think, is a pretty good moniker for the family. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us as well. It's good to have you here. And I mentioned you're an aspiring pilot. So how many hours do you have?
I have just over 200 hours. 200
hours, okay.
Yes.
And what have you been flying?
I've been flying a lot with my dad here. We go in his Piper Aztec, been with my sister in her Piper Cherokee, and then I primarily train in the Cessna 172.
Cessna 172 out of Daytona, was it?
Out of New Smyrna.
Oh, out of New Smyrna,
yeah.
Okay. Another good airport. I've been in there a number of times as well.
Awesome.
Well, that's good. What's the training academy there? We'll give them a...
Epic Flight Academy.
Epic Flight Academy. So probably you've heard of, some of you have heard of Epic Flight Academy, and Emily is probably one of their star students. So how long have you been training, Emily?
I've been training on and off since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
I started in gliders and then took a little break for a time, did some school, and just a couple years ago I started training in airplanes.
In earnest?
Yes.
This time.
Yes, and this time I'm up for check ride for my instrument rating actually in just a few days. So I'm really excited to be progressing and moving towards my goals.
Here's hoping that'll go well.
Yes.
So you already have the examiner assigned?
I do.
Have you met him or her?
I have. He's actually a good friend of the Master Dynasty.
That's catching on, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Indeed. So it's always good, I think, to establish a rapport and a relationship with the examiner before you sit with him or her in the cockpit and learn what you've not done so well or whatever. But hopefully you'll do everything just fine and finish off your instrument rating. How many hours do you have under the hood or the foggles or actual?
Under the hood, probably about 50.
Okay, so yeah. Just over the 40 that's required.
Yeah.
That's good. Most students have that or more before they're ready for the check ride. And you've already passed the written exam, I'm sure. Was that a hard exam?
That one was probably one of the most difficult exams I've taken. There are some tricky questions in there, but if you study really hard, you should be fine.
Yeah. So what's your favorite part of instrument flying?
My favorite part? I don't know. I think this is my favorite course so far. I think I'll probably say that in every course. But I just love that it feels like so much safer if you ever encounter any instrument conditions, because I know that is a leading cause of accidents for private pilots. And we get some surface level training there of how to navigate your way out of the clouds if you do encounter those conditions inadvertently, but this has just helped me see the bigger picture as a whole, and I love that about it.
And so how long have you been doing instrument approaches now?
Instrument approaches was probably about stage 2 of my training. I would say I have probably 3 months or so doing that.
And do you have any idea how many instrument approaches you've executed in that 3 months?
Oh man, I don't know if I can put a number on it, but we shoot at least 2 or 3 every time we go up.
RNAV GPSs, ILSs?
All of it, yeah.
VORs?
VORs, yes.
Really?
We still have to learn how to do those. I haven't shot one personally, but in the sim.
Yeah, good. And what's that other 3-letter approach name? NDB?
NDB? Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. That's what most pilots would say. So, yeah, some of us, probably you, Bob, as well, started instrument flying when ADFs were a primary major means of navigation.
They were.
And we had to do approaches with them. Mm-hmm. And I could generally always keep the needle pointing straight forward if I was headed to the ADF beacon, but when it was pointing behind me, I always got a little bit mixed up on the angle that I should assume to keep on the course. Did that ever happen to you, or did you ace them to begin with?
No. Perspectively wise, it was more challenging from the tail, right? You know, depending if you had wind conditions or drift and stuff. So, you know, you're carrying a wind drift, you're trying to correct for it, and tail is going either left and right. So, I mean, it was the tool, the game of the day, you know, and it was one of the primary ones around the country.
Yeah.
But difficult, but if practice, learning came around.
Challenging and so satisfying when you were able to execute one.
Yeah.
So Emily, you're not going to have to worry about that 3-letter approach thing. So VORs on occasion, anymore, the students that I teach, we do an occasional VOR approach. Not that they're probably ever going to use one to fly into an airport, but I think it's important that we kind of broaden our horizons on approaches and do something that's a little bit different, something that is somewhat unique, so that we're thinking outside of the box, outside of the normal RNAV or ILS that we often fly. So I think there's still some benefits, and there still are VORs around, and there will always be a number of VORs around, the so-called minimum operational network of VORs in various places around the country. Many of them are being decommissioned, but anyway. So RNAV GPS approaches, obviously the approach du jour, if you will. Yeah. I imagine that's probably one of your favorites now, or do you like the ILSs?
I love the ILS. I do. Good. But there are several RNAV approaches into my airport, so I also love that, and I get practice a lot with those.
And indeed, in most airports now have RNAV GPS approaches, either down to LNAV minimums or some to LPV minimums, and that's just it's really a safe way of getting down through the clouds or through poor visibility to be able to see the landing surface and land successfully and the like. So that's good. So have you actually flown in some IMC weather as well, actual IMC?
Very briefly, we did VFR on top. So getting through that little layer, we got some actual time.
And that's actually one of the versatile reasons for getting an instrument rating, particularly here in Florida. Sometimes you'll have a low overcast, particularly on the coast, like at New Smyrna Beach, or if you're on the west coast of Florida, sometimes there'll be a marine layer in there that will have low clouds or poor visibility. And so it's so nice to with an instrument rating, to file a flight plan, climb up through and get on top or get above the haze layer or whatever it might be, and then to be able to safely go on your path to your destination. Now there's occasions when we have thunderstorms in Florida.
Yeah.
Fortunately, most of the times, or many times, the thunderstorms are far enough distant from each other that we can either safely go between them or go around them if we need to. I certainly didn't get my instrument rating so that I could go through thunderstorms. There's very few pilots that have to do that, and I'm not one of them, and I never will be, I'm sure. So that'd be good. So I think you're going to find the instrument rating to be a very versatile ticket that you have, and one that you'll be able to use for many, many years. So looking to the future, Emily, I haven't forgotten about you, Bob. I'm going to get to you in a moment, but I'm intrigued by Emily, and so I wanted to ask, so looking to the future, Emily, where do you see yourself 2 or 5 or 10 years from now?
Ideally, I would love to fly at the airlines. That is my ultimate goal. And I recently was accepted into the U.S. Air Force National Guard.
Wow.
So that is another path I'm also pursuing. I'll be enlisted, but then hopefully a few years from now, be an officer and get that pilot slot.
Get a flying slot. That would
Yeah.
be great. That would be great. Well, as I recall, your dad did somewhat similar. He became part of the Guard, wasn't it, Bob, when you started?
Yeah, at 18, my first relationship with the Guard was the Army Guard, the Army National Guard up in Long Island in MacArthur Airport, helicopter unit.
Okay, and so you were stationed, as I recall, in Alabama?
The MacArthur?
Oh, not there. I mean, where'd you do your flight training? Wasn't it?
Oh, the flight training. So the flight training, I was stationed in Columbus, Mississippi. That's when I went to the
okay.
Air Force.
Okay.
The early days, I did the Army Guard in Long Island. Kind of did that, and then I got really hooked on it. Went to school,
Yeah.
and then when I finished the college degree, then my first base was Columbus Air Force Base. You know, as a student pilot, and eventually brought back as a T-38 instructor pilot.
So, Bob, you actually entered the Guard before you went to college.
Yeah, oh yeah, so that's the beauty about it. The Guard is a great opportunity for anybody out of high school, 18, turning 18, just like your sister, Savannah. Because at 18, you join the Guard, and then you could do some skill. It could be an aviation skill. I was a helicopter mechanic. You can't be a pilot yet in that way, but you can. But that gives you all the fundamentals of the beginning, and also gives you the benefits as a Guard person. Because if you're, say, 18, join the Guard, you have access to the GI Bill, which pays for flight training, for a big chunk of it there, and other little benefits there too. So now you're establishing a very early curriculum for yourself to succeed in aviation. And the Guard is a great thing. There's the Air National Guard, and then there's the Air Force Reserve. Both the same concepts. The Guard is owned by the state, and the Reserve is owned by pretty much the nation.
I see. Well, good. So you did that right out of high school then? Were you still trying to find yourself and figure out what you wanted to do in life, or what?
Yeah, I was asked to leave early on in high school.
I know the story. That's why I was leading you into this,
Yeah.
Bob.
I was like, my second year, I was like straight A's first year. Second year, I got a little distracted.
Yeah.
And then I decided, my parents said, hey, what do you want to do? You could go to school anymore. They were pretty cool, you know. And they said, yeah, I need a break. And I went into other worlds, you know, just mechanicking and stuff like that.
And wasn't it your mom that showed you the advertisement for the Guard?
She cut out a little paper one day, newspaper clip, and it said, join the Army National Guard.
Hint, hint, hint.
Yes, and that was a big win, because that time I was pretty happy not going to high school, well, not finishing, you might say.
Yeah.
But I mean, that gave me a trajectory, because once I got into that trajectory, of course, I went to the Guard unit, trained, became a helicopter mechanic, and then finished the high school.
Right. And started flight training while you were a helicopter mechanic, was it?
Yeah, when I was up at Fort Rucker, Alabama. So it's about maybe a 4-month, 3-month course, you know, to train you. So here I am, you know, 18, learning how to fix helicopters. And it was a great opportunity, because I was fixing up cars. And then one of the warrant officers came over one day, and he saw me working on the blades, and just kind of said, hey, you ever think about flying? And I go, no, not really. But I like mechanic. I was into it. Didn't even think about being a pilot. So then he said, why don't you come over to the Aero Club on Saturday and let me give you a ride? It was a warrant officer. He was at Delta. He's retired too now. And I did. And the flight he took me on became the beginning.
The hook for you.
The hook. Because I was so excited about it, enjoyed it, didn't even think about it. And then he said, okay, so why don't you just let's roll on that private pilot license.
Good. So fast forwarding then, Air Force career for a while?
Yep, because
the airlines?
Yep, because after the Guard thing, when I came back, then I went to school at Embry-Riddle, full-time guy, joined the ROTC, and then from there, when I graduated with the degree from Embry-Riddle, and you know, ROTC funneled me into like a full-time officer position for about 7-8 years of commitment. That's why I went to Columbus Air Force Base.
Very good. And then with an airline, a major airline, and then called back into service during Gulf 1 and Gulf 2, was it?
Oh yeah, because you know, I was at that time, I was like, before Gulf 1, Gulf 2, I was at United flying, and I was also now in the Florida C-130 unit down at Patrick Air Force Base, and everything was kind of statically peaceful, and then all of a sudden 911, right? And then found myself over there with the other units and everybody there for about an 8-month, 9-month deal to go over there and play the game.
Well, thank you for your service to our military and also to commercial aviation, and you've made an incredible contribution to general aviation as well. Bob, you may know, was the National CFI of the Year 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah, 2022.
Two.
Yeah, so very prestigious award, and I'm honored that you got it, and I'm delighted to have you here. So, Emily, were you inspired by your father's trek in aviation?
Oh yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be? Also, my sister, she is currently an F-35 fighter pilot in Montgomery, Alabama, and she has been a huge inspiration for me as well. And we obviously are both inspired by our dad and the role model that he has been for us.
And your stepmom, right?
Yes.
Karen as well?
Oh,
yeah.
yes. And she as well, just the whole family. And they've introduced me to a whole other family in the aviation world, which I'm so grateful for.
And that family is really tight,
Yes.
isn't it? Supportive, indeed. So let me ask you about mentorship. Bob, you've been a mentor to pilots, both within your family and to many others that you've come across. Do you find that as an important thing that you and I can do as pilots and flight instructors?
I think it's a critical thing. You know, mentorship over time ebbs and flows in people's lives. Some people take advantage of it in the sense of like become a mentor, mentee, teaching and doing, and some do not. But mentoring is a good thing because in any career field, like I was mentored in the Army Guard to say, become a pilot, right? And then follow the footsteps, or else I would never have been doing that. I would have gone back and been a mechanic. So it's always good to have somebody who can help pave the way with some ideas and thoughts, choices, because what you don't know, you don't know. And
Exactly.
what a mentor
Answering
does.
questions is a very important part of mentoring.
Exactly, and the mentor now helps you out with that, what you don't know, and then you progress into a world of beginning.
Plus, that mentor becomes a contact for you later in your career.
Oh yeah,
Extremely valuable to have those contacts in place. And Emily, you're probably not doing too much mentoring right at the moment, but receiving mentorship. Do you have one or more mentors other than the familial one that we're sitting next to you?
Yes, I've been able to meet many people through him as well, and also just through the free outreach programs that we have, like the FAA Wings program has been huge for me. When we get to hear from these amazing, really experienced pilots for free at their seminars, I love to be able to introduce myself and just get their words of wisdom. And then again, like you said, that's a future contact that I have as my career progresses.
Good. So I'm thinking that, I think you told me you will soon become a mentor to someone named Aaron as he begins his flight training. Aaron is?
My husband.
So has he started flight training yet, or just about?
He hasn't quite yet. We're saving up for that. But yeah, I'm very excited about that opportunity.
So you will get the chance to be a mentor. So let me ask you, at your position in aviation, a couple hundred hours, just getting your instrument rating, how do you seek out a mentor? Have you had any experience doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I am obviously very fortunate to have been born in the family that I am.
The dynasty.
The dynasty, I mean. But going to things like this, like Sun and Fun, joining those programs like Women in Aviation, there are so many different ways to seek out that mentorship, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, especially if you aren't from an aviation background, but it's so easy to just go up to these people and go up to a booth and introduce yourself and have a conversation about aviation, and that's where those lifelong mentorships and friendships form.
And friendships, indeed. So Women in Aviation had a conference last week in Denver. Did you attend by chance?
Sadly, not this year.
Not this time.
No.
So we had, I believe there was 5,000 attendees at the conference last week. Too bad. Maybe next year you'll go. Maybe you'll
Hopefully.
be an airline pilot by then. Who knows? That would be good.
Crossed.
So I got one quick anecdote to tell you about mentorship and a very moving experience that I've had as a mentor. A young man from my church had an interest in aviation, and just somehow pilots, when there's an interest in aviation, they magnetically are attracted to each other, right? So I learned that he had an interest in aviation. So I took him for a ride in our airplane one day, and he was absolutely thrilled. And I was amazed that he had a simulator at home, so he was pretty well used to flying the airplane. So while we were flying along, I let him take the controls of the airplane, and I'm looking at the altimeter going, does this thing work or is it stuck? I mean, he was like right on the altitude, and I gave him a heading to fly, and he was spot on. He just didn't. So anyway, fast forward, I helped him get to an aviation, to AOPA to get a scholarship. And he finished his training. He got his private pilot's license on his 17th birthday before he had his driver's license. And tomorrow, he is going for his ATP and type rating check ride in a Cessna. 5 years from private pilot to jet pilot. I'm very proud of him. Now, it wasn't all me. He did a lot of hard work, just as you have, and and will continue to do. But mentorship, very important, very important. Well, Emily, I wish you all the best in your continuing career, and you will make it to the airlines, I'm convinced, and also with the Air Force, and you'll drag Aaron into aviation as well, so I'm excited for him. Bob, recently retired, incredible career in all the things that you've flown, and you continue to support Karen, the remaining United pilot, until we get another one here. And so thank you both for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, for the Florida Aviation Network, I'm Ron Timmermans. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned. This is the last interview today, but Wednesday, tomorrow, we'll have even more. So come back to our YouTube channel and visit us tomorrow from Sun and Fun. Thank you so much.